Greetings. Welcome to ITR Live. I'm your host, Chris Hagenow, and we are back here in the Hendrickson Library at the Center for the Preservation of Western Civilization at ITR World Headquarters in Central Iowa. Got John Hendrickson, myself, here today on the gold standard in Iowa conservative entertainment. John, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Good. I can tell you're excited. You have
I am,
lots
yeah.
of, you don't bring quite as much material up here as you used to. That's one thing that's been lost in the new studio is the desk here, which we are going to replace.
Yes, yeah.
Is a little less real estate for you.
It
You
is,
used
yeah,
to come
it's
in
hard.
with just like stuff everywhere.
Once we get a bigger space, then I'm going to...
Yeah. Well, the expectations
Yeah.
are going to go up for you. The
Yes,
folks are
yeah.
going to start expecting more.
Yes,
But
yeah.
anyway, John is ready here, ready to go. Reminder to all the folks out there, we are across all your major audio platforms, whether you're on iTunes, Spotify, whatever, Apple Podcasts. But we're also on video on YouTube. Make sure that you like the episode, you subscribe to the channel, and all those things, so we can make sure that that we are as gratified by our own stats as possible.
That's right.
Because that's all that matters.
That's right.
We're just in it for
yes,
we're in it for the dopamine hit on the extra likes. So, John, before we go any further today, we're going to start off with what has now become a regular feature, which is the ITR Live Trivia Contest. We had a winner from last episode. Remind us what the question was.
Yes, so we were looking for the Civil War... see, I can't...
John, pull yourself
yeah,
together.
yeah.
Let's go.
We were looking for the Civil War general who was from Council Bluffs, a friend of Abraham Lincoln.
And the answer was?
And he was instrumental in helping build the Transcontinental Railroad.
Yeah.
And there's a famous facility named after him, and the answer was Grenville Dodge.
Yep.
And, of course, Fort Dodge, named after him.
Yep.
And then so we did have
Camp
one.
Dodge here in town.
Yes, Camp
Yeah,
Dodge,
right.
yes, yeah. And so we had one person respond and
Okay.
get that right. So our next question is also an...
Well, who won?
Well, it is our colleague
Right.
Andy Conlon.
That's right.
Won, so I didn't know if I could say
You
his
can
name.
say
or not.
that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we're
congratulations
proud.
to Andy. So
Well,
yes,
yeah, we
and-
got to give everybody credit.
and he actually got the previous one, and
Yeah.
and I have to say Antietam because he chastised me for saying Sharpsburg.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
But our question for this week also is deals with Western Iowa, and so any of our friends in Sioux City might know this. So it has to do with Sioux City, and our question is, who's a famous resident who was from Sioux City? He served as an influential advisor to President Franklin Roosevelt. He was part of the famous Brain Trust of advisors. He headed one of the New Deal agencies and also helped FDR during World War II.
Okay. That's a tough one.
Yes, yeah.
I don't think I've got even a guess at that. So I might. I'll have to think about that. Okay. Well, good. Well, folks, put your thinking caps on because we're starting to get some new winners on that. It's good. Okay, John, we got two main things we're going to try and cover today. I know you're excited about both of them. Last time we were together, we teased out that we were going to have the new ITR Foundation poll. Well, we have that today.
Yes.
We're going to go through some quick results and some takeaways from that. And we want to also not spoil everything. We want people to actually go to the website and read that for themselves. Also, though, I think our listeners would be very disappointed if we did not have a couple of things to say about Friday's news of the detainer of Des Moines School Superintendent Dr. in quotation marks Ian Roberts. Did you like how I said that?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
So I was with a group of folks that are fairly plugged into what's going on around town when this came in. And the immediate thing was, you guys aren't going to believe this one because initially, I mean, it's so wild that you're like, there's no way that's actually true. But yet here we are and I can't believe that we have any listeners, that there are any listeners that aren't up to speed on this. But the superintendent of the Des Moines School District, one of the largest political subdivisions in the state of Iowa, was apparently had a detainer order out for him for some time, maybe a couple of years. It was issued during the Biden administration, was finally picked up, ran from ICE agents and the State Patrol, I believe, into the woods, was picked up, was found with a handgun, a hunting knife, and $3,000 worth of cash on him, and is currently being detained pending deportation to his home country of Guyana. Now, there's all sorts of questions that have flown that flow from this. Of, well, when was he legal? So that's out there. What is actually his legal status? I think that's we know it was illegal, but how did he here so long? He was still here on a student visa. I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm already getting turned around on this, but his educational background, his qualifications, it's already been had his teaching license revoked by the State Board of Education. Whose fault is this? And I'm here for the blame game. All of those things. John, what's the most shocking part about all of this for you?
Well, the whole thing is shocking, but I think is the whole shocking part for me is how did this happen in the first place? And I think that's a question a lot of people want answered, is how does someone who was not a citizen or may not have been able to legally work,
apparently was never a citizen.
Yeah, and was not legally.
Now, and maybe that's not necessarily a disqualifier.
Yeah.
But clearly not eligible to work in this country.
And how he was able to jump through all those hoops through that process and still get hired to lead the largest school district in the state of Iowa. Yeah. I mean, that's big.
Yeah. It has certainly been national news.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, and not even, I know that this is one of those opportunities where the traditional media will probably start their headline with Republicans pounce. Mm-hmm. But this is a big deal anywhere, is that how, one, our immigration system is broken. It's not working if this can happen. Because if this is happening at this high of a level, just think of how pervasive the problem is across our culture. But what's going on I think there are very fair questions to be asked of not only what's going on in the Des Moines Public School District in there, but what's going on across education broadly. I mean, is there something broken with the system and how leaders are identified and elevated? I think that's a very fair question. A lot of it, I think probably what you have is probably a career con man, is what I come back to. But how was it so easy for him to pull this off? That's, I guess, my fundamental question. We don't even know whether he actually had ever received these degrees, do we?
No, we don't. I was just looking at an article about that, and there's a lot of speculation about that, and there's questions.
I mean, for a job that pays over $300,000 a year.
Yes, yeah.
You would think that it's the bar to get that job's pretty high. That you would have to survive a pretty high level of scrutiny to be able to secure a job like that. Not to mention this paid for with property tax dollars. Well, it's all of our tax dollars and state tax dollars by elected officials who are responsible for that hiring process, the Des Moines School Board. And yet here we are. There are multiple steps in the process here that are just broken. So obviously our elected leaders and candidates all take to press releases and social media to get their statements out on all of this. Yeah. But I think that's appropriate, right? There is nothing wrong with a state level official demanding answers on this, is there?
No, and I there needs to be answers.
I mean, it's outrageous.
Yeah.
I across the political spectrum, you should be outraged at this. Now, I'm going to get to this in a minute because it seems like the response from the left is not that.
No, it's to
both sides, or Donald Trump or Kim Reynolds or ICE or something else, or our kids aren't safe. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's either stated directly or implicated that has almost nothing to do with the actual issue.
No, they are politicizing this. Again, it's the same playbook to actually to play the card that this is, again, just mean-spirited Trump immigration policies that are...
Right. And so we've seen a very strong statement from Governor Reynolds about this, about getting to the bottom of it. Very appropriate. I think our legislative leaders have also, at least on the Republican side, made statements to the same effect. The chairman of the House Government Oversight Committee, Representative Charlie Thompson, was talking about meetings already. So that's out there. I saw an interesting one. Gubernatorial candidate Adam Steen today, I don't know if you saw this, John, made a comment that it's time for the Des Moines, or it's time for the administration to take over the Des Moines school district and a full accounting of this.
Yeah.
Here's my point. I don't think any of these ideas should be off the table. This big of a deal.
Yeah.
Because something is just broken.
Yeah. I thought Mr. Steen's original comment was very good as well. I mean, just when this first came out, and there needs to be accountability with this.
Yep. So I also, because maybe I'm an aficionado of public statements on these things, John, but I want to walk you through some of what leading Iowa Democrats are saying this. So Rob Sand, State Auditor Rob Sand, is running for governor. I don't know if he wanted to make a statement, but I think at some point felt like he had to. And probably, at least of the three that I have here, probably has actually the best one or the least bad one. But it starts off, I understand why people are worried, scared, and upset about the situation with Dr. Ian Roberts. Worried, scared, or upset? I'm upset, I'm mad. But I don't know if that's what he intended to include in all of this. There are conversations, I know you like to talk about politicians talking about conversations, to be had about our current policies being enforced, the degree to which masked agents putting people in a mark. So we're already down the path into taking a shot at ICE.
Yeah.
Okay, we've cruised right past the substance of the matter to clearly there must be something wrong with immigrations and customs enforcement. Just immediately right onto that. Immediately onto there must be something else wrong. We've got to find some other bad thing to sweep into this. Talks about undermining trust in law enforcement. You know what undermines trust in law enforcement? Crap like that from Democrat leaders that can't find a way to call things out when they need to be called out. But I move on. Law enforcement about having the targeted young man in West Liberty, a construction worker, former star soccer. Okay, all of those things. If you want to have a message about immigration policy under the Trump administration, go ahead and have that. But this isn't it.
Yes. Yeah.
This situation merits a response based on this situation. Okay, so but he gets there. At the same time, if reported facts are accurate, so he's got to have an out here, just in case clearly because you've seen this from the left. This is just Trump and Kim Reynolds and ICE agents all making this up because they want to go get our wonderful Dr. Ian Roberts. That clearly this is all targeted. Like, yes, they genuinely believe this, John, that the Trump administration and Kim Reynolds, by extension, are literally just rounding up their political opponents. And I don't even think either one of them would have seen Ian Roberts as a political opponent. I think the governor actually had a pretty positive working relationship with him anyway. So that's out there. So he does say the immigration case filing should be released. I agree with that. Appreciate that. Work with law enforcement to hold lawbreakers accountable. Good. Our laws matter. So do facts. Good. I completely agree with that part of it. We should get the facts. Doesn't feel responsible to weigh in on matters when facts are still unknown. There's some facts we know about here. We can doesn't want folks to jump to conclusions. I don't know. There's a pretty easy conclusion here. We had an illegal immigrant working as superintendent of the Des Moines School District. There's no conclusion necessary.
Can I just weigh in a little bit on this? Because he's been traveling the state, jumping to conclusions on that there's all this corruption with ESAs.
Yeah, there you go, John. I'm here for this one. Go get them.
There's all this hidden corruption in state government that Republicans are doing.
Yeah.
As far as I know, he hasn't had any specific examples of that.
Yeah.
But yet here we go. We have a specific situation. and yet he's taking both sides, trying to appease both the left and trying to sound good for to appease to moderate voters, and so I think he's playing both sides. But yet he has no qualms of just kind of playing loose with other
right. Yeah, that's
ESAs and other stuff.
That's a great point. When he feels like he's on winning political ground, then we can go ahead and jump to whatever conclusion we want. He does say we have to follow the facts and the law. There right now is a lot unclear. I agree with that statement. There are still, I think, as we continue to see, a lot of truth still coming out. Continue monitoring. I think it's now important more than ever to bring the temperature down. Why? Why is it important to bring the temperature down on this? I'm outraged. I think there's a lot of Iowans that are. Maybe sometimes it's okay to have the temperature up a little bit.
Isn't he the one that also is going around saying that he has righteous anger and he's going to flip the tables? Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, and like I said, that's probably the best one of the bunch. Here is Senator Sarah Trone Garriott, candidate for the Iowa 3rd Congressional District. Iowa's at its best when we come together to ensure our laws are followed. Okay? For the safety and dignity of all. We don't have laws for the dignity of everyone. We have laws to protect. We have laws to make sure we live in an ordered society. I don't know that I particularly care about a career con man taking $300,000 a year to lead an education institution, preserving his dignity. But, okay, whatever that means. While we wait for more information to come to light, Dr. Roberts deserves due process. That's a loaded term. Due process doesn't apply the same way to illegal immigrants that it does to us as citizens, but this is where we start conflating words. I'm glad to hear he has legal counsel. Like, whatever. We need more transparency about the allegations. Agree with that. Here they close, and this is a theme here. As a mom, I want nothing more than our kids and educators to be safe every day when they go to school. What does that mean? What is safe every day? In the context of this story and the need for this release, what does safe mean?
It's again, they're playing up the narrative that people aren't safe because of the Trump administration. So, this false narrative trying to scare people.
If you want to somehow say about, well, he had a loaded handgun with him while on the clock for the school in a school vehicle, well, okay, maybe. I may not agree with that, but that's an arguable point. But this is intentionally conflating this with fears of deportation in other areas, which is not the issue here.
Yeah.
The issue here is a legal deportation order issued during the Biden administration against your guy.
Yes. Yep.
Here's another one. This is former House Minority Leader Jennifer Confrist, who is also now a candidate for Iowa's 3rd Congressional District. The events of last week were shocking and scary to us all, but especially for our kids and the students at Des Moines Public School. I'm sure it was shocking, maybe scary for some that have been that have some fear of deportation. I guess I'll allow that, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of other people that were just mad or shocked. Our kids need to be safe in school. Again, they all talk about safety. That's not this thing. This thing is about Dr. Ian Roberts and the Des Moines Public School Board's employment of an illegal immigrant subject to a deportation order. But they want to conflate this because they want so badly for this to be about the thing that their base cares about rather than the thing that Iowans care about. And then Representative Confrist closes, we must stand strong against attempts to further divide us. Okay. Like you've heard me use my term for all this, right? This is word salad.
Yes, yeah.
This is what you get from folks that are scared of their base.
Yeah. That's a good point.
It is. This is what happens. They are more scared of their base than they are in actually addressing the issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So there we are. No public statements that I could find from Current House Minority Leader Brian Meyer, who represents part of the Des Moines School District. Nothing that I could find from Rita Hart, Josh Turek, Zach Walls, or any of the others. Okay. Anything else on any of that, John?
No, I think this is not going away anytime soon. So,
okay. Well, I thought that'd be a quick one, and we still haven't even gotten to the main event today, which is the ITR Foundation poll. So I should probably turn the page, so to speak. Okay. So just to recap, John, the ITR Foundation poll, we do this multiple times a year, more during an election year. Mm-hmm. But it had been several months since we had done this, and we wanted really for right now to check back in on some of the policy issues to make sure that we were still seeing things the right way, looking ahead into the next legislative session. So that's what we had. It was hard to test some of the horse race numbers, the head-to-head matchups, because we don't know who a lot of these candidates are going to be yet, right? We don't know who the nominees in either party are going to be frankly, for either the U.S. Senate or the governor's race. I think most people believe we're probably going to have Auditor Rob Sand will be the Democrat nominee for governor, and probably we will have, it's open, right? There's front runners for these races. Ashley Hinson being the front runner for the Republican U.S. Senate nomination, but, the Republican governor nomination very much up in the air, and the Democrat nomination for U.S. Senate very much up in the air. Not among which is the aforementioned Jackie Norris, chair of the Des Moines Public School Board. Okay, so what's your main takeaway of all of this, John? I know you're going to sit there and say, well, Chris, you got to talk about it because, you're the one that managed the project. But I want to, what do you think about this?
Well, there's a couple things. One, certainly from an issue perspective, Iowans are still very concerned with their tax bill and where taxes are going, but also Iowans are also very concerned with where the country is headed. But they're also, in a sense, they're concerned. They're I think okay with where Iowa's going. I was a little surprised that with how I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but I think the and I would have to go back and look. You probably have it marked, but the support of the education savings accounts, ESAs, came out higher than I thought because all the negative media you hear about it constantly,
those are I agree.
And then if we get time to talk about it, also we teased out in the last one the question that you allowed me to put in there on tariffs was very interesting as well in terms of kind of very close, but Iowans a little I forget, it was like 44% believe that they were harming the economy. So
I think those are all, obviously we've talked about this before we came in here into the studio to talk about it, but I think those are all strong points. If I took two big takeaways from this poll together, the first one is that the political environment, let me back up a minute. Historically, the midterm elections are not very good for the party in power. Party in power is Republicans at the federal level, Republicans at the state level in Iowa. History, and you know this, would say that Democrats would do very well in this environment, especially a president's second midterm, which I think we still would consider, despite there being 4 years in between. This is President Trump's second midterm. Mm-hmm. However, the ITR Foundation poll shows that this is still a pretty good political environment for Republicans. The classic way to test this is the generic congressional ballot. Are you planning to vote for Republican or Democrat next fall? That is at plus 10. And keep in mind, President Trump won Iowa by 13 points just last fall. Yes. And so we're still in that range. Now, what then the underlying thing is voter enthusiasm, which we don't test directly in here. Are folks still motivated to show up and vote? And that'll be the challenge of the individual campaigns and all of that to get out and vote. But I will tell you, on the heels of the things like the assassination of Charlie Kirk and seeing what's going on in the Des Moines public school system, the Republicans I talked to are pretty fired up about this election. So plus 10 is really strong. I expected that to actually be a little bit lower than that. So, but the second thing is where we're at on these issues as well. And you talked about that, is going ahead to start with what's your top priority for Congress. That's a way we have tracked this in the past. And I was a little interested that we had this threats to democracy, and we've kind of banged on this for a while because it's been a Democrats love to talk about that, and they don't like Donald Trump, and they call him a fascist, and he's trying to undermine all of that nonsense. And so Democrats would often register that this was a big deal to them. That actually spiked. And now you're starting to see Republicans, not moderate Republicans, but conservative Republicans, answer threats to democracy. There's something happening here. I think that has become, at least in our poll, to encompass a little bit more of a just loss of faith in the system.
Yes, yeah.
And that's scary because they don't want that.
No.
I would like this to be zero.
Yeah.
If I had my druthers. So that's something that we're going to continue to track. Inflation, the economy, Social Security, Medicare, taxes, and government spending continue to be higher on that list. Low on that list are national security, gun control, and abortion, especially, climate change, not really registering much on the poll right now. So I want to get into these individual issues because we've continued to track them. These are the broader themes. And it's important that we do this and that because we're going to try and inform our legislature and our governor about where we think these issues lie. And we can have this data to back it up that it's not just Iowans for tax relief that wants our taxes cut. It's all Iowans. So I'm going to roll through these, John, and I know that you're getting tired of listening to me talk and you want to turn, but you're going to get your turn. Okay. Would you vote yes or no on an amendment to the Iowa State Constitution that would require 2/3 of the state legislature to vote on any tax increase, effectively making it more difficult for the legislature to raise taxes? That continues to be over 70% of Iowans support that idea. Only 12% oppose. A majority of Democrats support this proposed constitutional amendment. It's a clear winner. Unequivocally, Iowans want this limitation on the legislature's ability to raise taxes. Full stop. And if anything, that number has gotten stronger over the past couple of years. An income tax amendment, this is the flat tax notion, that's still relatively unchanged, although it has gotten better. Almost half of Iowans support enshrining the flat tax into our state's constitution. Only 22% oppose. Here's the property tax limitation. And so this gets a little trickier to test because the system's so complicated. There's so many reform proposals out there, but we ask for the 2% growth limitation because that's been our policy. It's as easy to explain as anything, but does still, I believe, represent a fairly clean proxy for do you want limitations on local government spending. The 72% of Iowans voted yes, 12% of Iowans vote no. Again, a wide majority of Republicans and independents and over half of Democrats support this. My takeaway is it would be political malpractice for the legislature not to pass a strong property tax bill this year, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, with these kinds of numbers,
yeah.
When do 72% of Iowans or Americans agree on any political
That's right.
issue?
Yeah.
I mean,
you're absolutely right.
We got half of folks in the city of Des Moines supporting an illegal immigrant working at the Des Moines Public Schools as superintendent. But we've got over half of them saying cut property taxes. Let's go.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't have any data on that one, folks. I made that up.
That's probably true.
Okay. And then you mentioned the ESA number.
Yeah.
That's plurality support. That's a plus 13 support over oppose for the idea that educational savings accounts. John, I remember saying this when we passed ESAs, and it was about a 50-50 at the time. And there were people that were just vehemently opposed to that, and folks that we had strong support for it. Once you put a benefit in place for somebody, it's really hard to take it away. Because now what I believe you're seeing is more and more families taking advantage of the ESA, and that extends then to their extended families, to grandma and grandpa, to neighbors, to whoever, are starting more and more Iowans seeing the value of that account and seeing the value of how that can be used for these individual families. I expect this number to continue to rise.
I agree with that.
So
yeah,
that'll be really interesting to watch, because clearly that's going to be talked about in the 26 election as well.
yes, yeah,
Okay, so here's your chance. I told you you're going to get your chance. Tariffs.
yep.
In the long, this was John just got a question for himself. In the long run, do you believe the use of tariffs as a policy to rebalance trade will strengthen or weaken the economy? 40% said strengthen, 44% said weaken. It didn't cut cleanly across party lines, but Republicans and Trump voters clearly were more likely to vote to say strengthen.
Yeah.
And Democrats were almost universally thought that they would weaken the economy, which is an interesting historical twist on that.
Yeah,
but
very much so.
I think a lot of the labor movement historically would have supported tariffs.
Oh yes, yeah.
So,
yeah,
but anyway, this is your opportunity, open mic time for John Hendrickson to talk about tariffs.
Yeah. No, I was very interested in this because it's a big issue right now, and it's an important issue, and I was, when we look at the breakdown of that, the more conservative people identified in the poll, the more they supported the tariff policy.
Yeah,
and that was interesting. And
do you, can I interrupt?
Yeah.
Do you think that there inside of that is any evolution in what conservative means inside of the electorate? That conservative and populist are sometimes starting to be used interchangeably a little bit. I think.
Yeah, and I think so, and I know some would say no, but actually my argument has always been the tariff has always been traditionally a conservative policy. Historically, it's been. I know, like my friend Van Skin would say it's not a conservative policy at all, but I would say historically, Republicans, conservatives supported tariffs. I mean, Calvin Coolidge supported tariffs. Republicans, going back to Hamilton, all the way up through Lincoln, all the way up to Herbert Hoover, supported tariffs.
Can I throw you a curveball inside of that?
Yeah.
It seems to me that the tariff has been thought of as pro-business, but maybe not necessarily conservative. Do you see what I'm saying? I think we've thought of that as a pro-business thing, as a pro-growth thing, and therefore has become what we think of as a conservative issue.
Yeah. Well, it was conservative in a sense that the tariff was seen not just as pro-business, but it also was seen as also pro-labor. It was also seen pro-agriculture and also protecting the nation as whole. And so, for example, the famous campaign slogan of Willie McKinley was the full dinner pail, and basically meant that that this protected the wages of Americans. And so the old protectionists, the Republican Party, said if you threw open the markets to cheap foreign goods, whether they be from Asia or Europe, what's going to happen is you're going to flood our market, and you're going to lose jobs, you're going to decrease wages, and this is exactly what happened in the 90s and even up to today. So I think certainly the free trade idea is a what we'd call classical liberal. I mean, it's a libertarian idea where free markets are, and so someone like Hayek, I think, would say that tariffs would be conservative as well, whereas trade, would be a classical liberal. And also, I just want to tell our listeners too that tariffs doesn't mean you oppose trade. It's not that we want to put up Fortress America and not trade. It's just that we want to make sure that we're, in a sense, benefiting our people first, and that's what our objective is. And it's we're not, it's the nation, we need to, in a sense, put our people first. We need to put our businesses first and not necessarily allow other countries to take advantage of us. And that's what's been happening for quite a long time.
Well, and it's clearly the election of Donald Trump in 2016 represented a big shift because it was the first time, maybe since World War II, that somebody with his views on trade policy had become president. I mean, there have been bits and pieces along the way, so it was a departure.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting for our purpose on this is where are Iowans at on it, because there's a real direct impact right now here in Iowa.
Yes, with the soybeans.
It's one thing to maybe put some tariffs on to help protect, steel workers or a mine operation or some of those other industries that have really been decimated by it. But the Iowa farmer would tell you that they just want as many markets as they can get. They want to sell these corn, the soybeans, whatever, and currently sell a lot to places like China and are feeling the pinch of those markets not being available to them right now. And so I think it's interesting to see, okay, how does that play out in the data? And it reads to me that a lot of those folks are staying in there. And we've seen this even anecdotally in some of the news accounts, John, that they're wait and see. And the president himself has even addressed this, is that, we're going to work it out in the end. He's talking about new farm bill and whatever we think of the bailouts, actual policy of how we do agriculture in this country from a public policy standpoint. But it seems that by and large, the are holding in there with the president, wait and see what he can pull off.
I think I did an article quite a while ago, several months ago, on in a sense talking about the economic patriotism of Iowans, and because Iowa farmers believe in free trade, but they also understand what the president is trying to do with this, and this is the dangerous position we're in, because look at the leverage that China has on us. I mean, we have become so dependent on China, and so just whether it's for our agriculture and for manufacturing goods, I mean, China really is. We're in their clutches, and so and it's not healthy for us to be so dependent just on one power that's so hostile and dangerous.
Well, I think one thing that is missed sometimes inside of this tariff notion, because it's obviously more than just grain markets, right? There's more there. The farming community in Iowa is still deeply skeptical of foreign ownership of land.
Yes, yeah.
And so I think there's that angle here too. Is there is a skepticism of, and it's not just China. I think it's any overseas influence in agriculture in Iowa. Now, the counter argument would be like, well, you want it both ways, right? I mean, you want to be able to sell wherever, but not have any of the direct foreign investment. And I just think it's important. I really was interested in those results, John, because it does show there's a real split. And I think there is an evolution on the right of how they see trade policy and tariffs.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's something that will endure beyond the Trump administration, if this is something that's going to last inside of the conservative movement. I don't have a take on that, but it is certainly an interesting historical shift.
It is, yeah. And just one more comment on that is, I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that we've been running a lot of deficits in agriculture as well, and so we are becoming more dependent on importing food, which a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah, I think those national security pieces that are very important. Okay, well, the big picture from the poll is that Iowans want limitations on government's ability to tax. They want a limitation and spend. They want a limitation on the legislature's ability to raise taxes. They want control on local government's ability to spend, and they're upset about it.
Yes, yeah.
And these numbers are unequivocal. They're overwhelming.
Bipartisan majorities.
Majorities. that frankly, and I think I said this in my comments on the poll when we sent the press release out, they demand attention from our elected officials, and it shouldn't just be the legislature. I come back to the point that I think the reason this is an issue in front of the legislature is because, by and large, local governments haven't policed themselves. And if they would do a better job of that, there might not be an issue in front of the legislature. But here we are, and Iowans are looking for solutions, and I think it is a political winner for any legislator of any party who wants to get out and lead on this, and we have had many of them. And I'm optimistic. I think this is just going to add more fuel to the fire for the leaders and legislators to continue working on the issue and find a big, strong bill that puts the taxpayer first. So that's my take on all of it. All right, John. I thought that'd be a short one, but here we are. We made it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
well, thank you for everything on that. I'm hesitant to ask you if you got anything else.
I
but
just I'm
have
one more thing.
I knew
Yes,
it. I knew it.
yeah. And this is all to be quick on this. This caught my eye this morning in the Washington Times, and this is just from a hero of both of ours, Justice Clarence Thomas. And of course, the Supreme Court is beginning soon. I think in October their new term, and he basically says decided cases aren't the gospel. And I just thought, he's right on that. And so it'll be interesting. With I think there's going to be some high-profile cases this term, but I agree with Justice Thomas on that.
Yeah, Justice Thomas. I think the term is thrown around, strict constructionalist. Like I'm done, right?
Yes.
Strict constructionist
Yep.
when it comes to the Constitution. But actually, Justice Thomas is an originalist. And what was the original plain meaning of the Constitution? And he defers to that. And look, our legal system is predicated on stare decisis, on the idea of previous cases controlling and guiding. But I think that's an interesting way to phrase that they aren't the gospel. Is there have been times, famously, that the Supreme Court got it wrong.
Yeah.
And they should change course. There have been all kinds of situations where courts have backed up and backtracked. And there, I think inside of that is where kind of the jurisprudence of Justice Thomas comes in, is like, what is underlying all of that, of the ebb and the flow and maybe getting it wrong and backing up, is what should guide us underneath all of that, which I believe he would say is the original plain meaning of the United States Constitution and related controlling documents. So that's good stuff. Well, we may have to come in here. I talked to our good friend Alan Ostergren recently, and we need to get him in here on the podcast again and maybe talk about the coming Supreme Court term, if there's any big cases that we need to be taking a look at. So very good. I love it.
I just thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah,
I like the framing of that.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, folks. Thanks for bearing with us, for your patient listening. For the 2 or 3 of you that made it all the way in, don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends. With all of that, we will see you next time on ITR Live.